Hello, I'm A.F. Steadman and I'm the author of Skandar and the Unicorn Thief. So I grew up in the countryside. I loved stories. I love writing stories, and I spent a lot of time wandering around with my notebook trying to think of good ideas. So I think stories have always been a big part of me. But I kind of gave up on my dream of being an author for a while, became a lawyer. But then about 8 years ago, I had this idea for evil unicorns, bloodthirsty unicorns, and still left it alone for a while. But then 4 years ago, came back to it, and Skandar and the Unicorn Thief was born. It's the first book in a new fantasy series, and it's set in a world of warrior unicorns, elemental magic, and unlikely heroes. And one of those unlikely heroes is Skandar Smith, who is the main character, and he's 13 years old. His biggest dream in the world is to become a unicorn rider. He lives on the mainland, but he wants to move to the island and train his own unicorn. But he has to take an exam in order to do that, to find out if he's destined to be a unicorn rider. And he's not the kind of normal sort of hero. He's not very brave. He's scared of most things. But he does have this one dream, and that's where the book begins. I had a lot of notebooks that I wrote ideas in. I've still got kind of lists of names for things. So like the Eyrie, coming up with that name, that's the rider training school. And I think it's kind of, for me, it's finding what is the foundational magic to the world. So I started off thinking, what kind of magic do I want? And I settled on elemental magic. So fire, water, air, earth, and spirit. And then I kind of built the world from there. So whenever I'm thinking about, does this magic fit in this world? How do the unicorns get their magic? How do they battle? All of that comes back to the kind of foundational magic of the world and the island that I decided to place it on. I really remember having this image of a boy riding a unicorn come into my head and thinking that unicorn doesn't belong in a fairy tale, it belongs in a nightmare. And that's how it started. And then I kind of knew I had to build a world for those characters that I'd imagined. And so I didn't plan the first book very much. The first draft was very much me having fun in a world of bloodthirsty unicorns and trying to build the characters, and the four main characters, they've kind of stayed the same from there, and doing all the world building, like where do they live, like how do they train, all the magic, all of that stuff. But there wasn't a lot kind of a plot going on in the first draft. And then from there, I kind of started to think, what's the right story to get through this world? What a reader's going to be interested in? And I thought about the Weaver, the villain, and Skandar's journey. So I think one of my favourite books growing up was, got it here. So the first one is the Earthsea series by Ursula Le Guin. The first one's called A Wizard of Earthsea, and it has dragons in it, the series, which is a big thing for me. Love dragons. And it's also got really interesting magic in it, and kind of big journey of finding out who you are. So I remember reading that and just having my mind blown by the world building and wanting to go to Earthsea and be a wizard as well. So that was when I was growing up. I think if you read Skandar and then you're kind of like, what shall I read next? I would recommend Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I absolutely love this book. It sort of has a kind of training school, a kind of theme as well. It's similar to Skandar. It has kind of loads and loads of magic in. It's really, really funny as well. And Amari is the main character. She's awesome. So yeah, I definitely recommend that afterwards if you haven't read it yet. This is a really easy question for me because there is a snack that one of the unicorns really, really loves, which is jelly babies. So they're these kind of they're kind of coloured sweets. They're sort of jelly-like, and the unicorn's favourite one is the red kind. So you can think about that while you're eating them, and because it's the first thing that Skandar feeds to his unicorn when he first meets him. So yes, jelly babies. So in the book, unicorn riders, they are allied, so they have an element that they're best at, their allied element out of fire, water, earth, air, or spirit. So my question would be, what would be your allied element if you had a unicorn? Thanks so much for listening. I really hope that you enjoy Skandar and the Unicorn Thief and following Skandar on his journey with his ferocious unicorn.